Hello, and welcome to Life with Francie podcast, a place where you will find all types of conversation like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this place, I want to create a community where we support one another in personal and business life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get the show started. On today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Anne Bland. I hope I say her name right. And I met her through Women in Podcasting group on Facebook. You know, I love that group that Jennifer Hensel has created for podcast hosts to find podcast guests and podcast guests to find podcast hosts, learn how to monetize your podcast, and so much more. Anyway, so Anne is a tantric and relationship coach, and she is the podcast host of Tantric Sex for Lovers and Others. I really can't wait to start this conversation. So, welcome Anne to my show. Tell us, what is life with you? Sounds interesting.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really feel honored to be here because I really like the group that you mentioned as well, and a big shout out to Jennifer too. And it's important to have these safe spaces where we can discuss about our lives, but also about our sexuality and our relationships and things like that. Everything that a person needs in their lives really is something that I personally have not had an easy life, and finding eventually that everything I need is inside me is just so awesome. It's just mind-blowing. It's something that I kind of, really, is it that simple? Why we always are so anxious and going on in our heads and, that mind monkey, and then you actually have it in your body. It's just really, really beautiful. And I suppose that's my mission in the world, is to really inspire people to have more pleasure in their lives so that we can have more happiness and peace on earth. That's me.
I love that. And I can't wait because that's a new conversation for me as of like a few months. And I'm 35 years old. I'm really uncomfortable with pleasure. So I'm really excited about this. Yeah, so how did you get started with your mission of teaching people?
I don't know. I used to be quite busy mom, actually. I had 3 kids, still have, luckily. They're beautiful adults now. But I mean, go back in time like 10 years, I was really busy I was a politician. I had a small holding with animals, and we just built the eco house of my dreams. And, it just all became too much. And then I divorced, and, I completely crashed. And it's not the proudest moments of my life. And to be honest, after a burnout as such, gravity that I had, it has taken me, I would say, 7 years to actually come out of the other side. But I remember when that happened, 2015, when I really became aware of it, I gave an interview for a newspaper to say that I'm resigning from politics. I was not a big shot, I was just a local, back in Finland. I'm Finnish. And they I saw the press cutting, like Facebook sometimes throws these old posts about. So I'd posted the press cut where it says Anne Bland retires from politics and wants to become a selfishly happy woman. And I thought, wow, what the hell did I mean? And I suppose, just 2018, I didn't even realize when I started studying properly tantric sex and sexuality that I'd already told everybody that my brand is going to be Selfishly Happy Revolution, because I believe that pleasure is the key. And it kind of, I don't know how to say it, but as if it happened in the back end of my brain somewhere. I wasn't even conscious that I'd said that in 2015, that it's all about me looking after my own self first before I give it to others. So it's that kind of, like, pleasure is is that oxygen mask that they say on airplanes that you have to put on yourself first before helping others. And it's kind of, if I don't have the happiness, if I don't have the pleasure in my life, how am I going to, if I don't even love myself, I don't have any energy, how can I give it to anybody else? So I need to look after, I'm the powerhouse, I'm the happiness house, I'm the pleasure house for myself first. And then I can give it to others. Then I can show up in the world, become the leader I was supposedly to be, 10 years ago. And I just didn't have enough ammunition in my powerhouse. It was just wrong way round. And I bet your family and everybody will, your dearest ones, your friends, your communities will love you more when you love yourself. So I suppose that's where it started, without me actually being aware.
Wow. Yeah, no, for me, for self-love was after I paid my mentor a lot of freaking money. uh but yeah, so how did all come about?
I don't know. I suppose because my marriage was sexless for years, and then the burnout happened, and I kind of thought, oh, I'm so old now, that's it, my sex life's gone. Or it is just absolutely ridiculous idea. But I kind of started playing with myself again. I kind of wanted to learn pleasure again. And I suppose it was just very intuitive process for me. And I learned something which is an old Taoistic Chinese practice, which is called a jade egg. And that was something that I was able to really learn what pleasure feels to me. I was able to tap into the more kind of tantric sex side of things, where your sexuality is also your creative energy. It's your very life force. It's that kind of, it's also your spiritual energy. 5,000 years ago, they decided that, they had this understanding of this inner technology that Tantra is, which is very much about using your own energy, your sexual energy, into creating the life you want, and
Okay.
healing yourself, and also even becoming enlightened. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things that happened on that path, and still is happening and unraveling. And then at some point I thought, well, if this is so profound for me, you know, I bet there are others who might be interested in that. And I trained as a tantric sex, specializing in men's sexuality, actually, and tantric sex coaching. So I'm certified coach, and I love it, absolutely love it. And that's why I started my podcast. It took me so many years to have the courage to show up and actually talk openly about sex and sexuality, and kind of in a fun, joyful way, not coming from, judgment or shame or guilt or any of that, not trauma, but actually trauma informed. But, it's kind of playfulness for me. That's, I suppose, the most important, because I don't know the answers. I don't know the answers, but I'm inviting everybody else to come on this journey, this adventure with me, and to kind of, let's figure this out. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? And, can we co-create something absolutely amazing?
So I am loving everything that you're saying. So it's just that, like, I'm very, for people might not believe, the people that know me, because I'm an extrovert and I'm out there. Like, for certain conversations, I'm very shy. And this one is like super shy for me, but I want to know more. I want to know everything about it. I'm just like super shy right now, and it's hilarious.
Oh, bless you.
So,
Oh,
oh
that's
my goodness.
okay. That's okay. Please don't, it's normal. It's okay. I can come out as a bit overwhelming sometimes, but
No, I love it. You are not at all. Trust me, like, without the cameras, we will be talking about everything and anything right now. But I'm afraid of
yes.
what my mouth is gonna, whatever's gonna come out of my mouth.
Well, if I can just, put you at ease with me, you are safe. And yes, exactly. You can just breathe, just
Yes.
take a deep breath and, oof.
Okay, so yes, please teach us
It's
more.
okay. Yeah, you can just exhale, just let that go. There's so much, that we've picked up over the years, from the society, from our upbringing, everything. It just kind of, just
Yeah, in my
breathing is powerful.
family, I am from Puerto Rico, and we don't have the sex conversation till like it's too late. We're already pregnant, like we're already expecting a kid.
Oh,
And it's like voodoo talk, and like they're getting a little bit better, but when I was growing up, it was like a no talk. And then because of trauma, I learned about pleasure the wrong way because it was taught by my biological father, and that's not the person to be teaching you about pleasure.
oh.
So,
I'm so sorry what's been
thank
going on
you.
for you. And can I say something?
Yes.
I want to validate that and experience that you are now coming out. I don't know, you might have spoken before, obviously, but to say that out loud, more you say and talk the words of trauma, it doesn't actually become traumatizing. So the new neuroscience actually teaches us that trauma, PTSD, for instance, post-traumatic stress disorder, happens only when you are not able to speak the words, when you don't have somebody that you can talk to who is accepting what you say, meets you with kindness, with compassion, with just, I mean, it's the problem is that often we are so ashamed that we can't talk about it, and then it gets locked in our nervous system. It gets kind of, it starts making our life decisions. It starts ruling our world, and we don't feel that we are in empowered space to make decisions ourselves about our sex life, or our love life, romantic relationships, or whatever there is. And and what you've just done is really making the best choice ever, that you're protecting yourself, taking the sovereignty in a way, the empowerment and the freedom that, no, I'm speaking about this. And this is what happened to me. And I just wanted to validate that and celebrate your courage to speak the words, because you will heal if you haven't already. I don't know.
I'm
But
on that
this is to you.
journey. Thank you so much for that. That means the world to me. Like right now, my hands are like hurting because I keep rubbing them so much of
Yeah.
anxiety. So I want to make sure for the people that can't see me on YouTube, because they're listening on the podcast, that they know like right now I'm in like a little bit of a thing. I put myself in the danger zone. So I'm reminding
Yeah.
myself that I'm okay and that I'm safe.
Yeah. You
I
are
don't
safe.
I don't talk about too much about it. Um, I give hints here and there of what I have gone through, but it wasn't till um like 6 months ago that I was able to say, I haven't said it on the podcast, but I said out loud, I am a survivor of incest. So, and then through that, by able to say it out loud, I have been able to get rid of the shame and guilt and responsibility that didn't belong to me. And woo, I did not expect this podcast interview to go that way, but it feels really good to say it right now. I'm comfortable. So anyway, and I don't want to turn it about me. I will turn it back on you soon. So then um and in January I did a retreat, Her Majesty retreat with Portia Newton, that's my mentor, and I was able to say it in front of 10 people. And it felt good to finally say it, and like I want to say it more because I don't want to be known for my trauma. I don't want to be that my main thing, but it's part of my life. I can't do anything about it. I can't change it. I wish I could. Lord knows, I wish I could. So now it's just getting comfortable So now my mentor has been teaching us pleasure in like the little things, but there's such a big wall that I still carry around myself. And even though shame and guilt is a little bit less than before, it's still hanging around. So that's why I'm loving this conversation, because pleasure isn't everything. It's not just sexually. And then what was the other thing on that one? Anyway, I lost my train of thought. But just thank you so much for this. I am
No,
grateful that I
you
met you.
it's really my pleasure, because this is what I do. I'm not trauma coach, but I
Yeah.
am trauma informed coach, and I really work with people who are in a space like you, that they've already figured out their trauma. It's more integrated, and I don't know if you noticed, but you had a lot of awareness in your what you were just saying there, that yes, I'm not my trauma. I know it happened, but I'm so much more. I am so much more. That's not me. It happened, and I'm talking about it so I can heal it. And I can also allow other people to come to that safe space with you, where you can say, yes, this happened, but to talk about it will be healing. It won't become PTSD when you can talk about it and you can get help for that. If there's any listener who feels this too triggering and too overwhelming, I would strongly advise to find a good therapist and deal with that trauma, and start speaking about it, because it's that secretiveness that becomes PTSD. It's that the shame doesn't come just like that. It comes from that secretiveness. And for a child, to bear that burden is just, it's unbelievably hard. It is so hard. And to be able to lift that burden by opening, like you said, to 10 people, I mean, that's tenfold. You're liberating yourself, you're gaining your freedom. It doesn't have its grip on you anymore so much. But
Yeah,
you can
I
see how much awareness you have. You already have that, can I swear?
yes, yes.
Yeah, it was a kind of, no, fuck you. I'm not a victim. I'm taking power back. I'm getting my power back by talking about this. And I'm going to, nail this. This is not going to identify me, but it is part of me, but it's not me.
Yeah. I love that you made that distinction. And yeah, for anybody that is listening and they have gone through it or whatever, I just want to send them a huge hug and tell them that they're not alone, and validate that you have to say it out loud. I know it feels crazy and you're alone and nobody else has gone through it but you, but there's sadly there's more of us out there. And abuse trauma comes in so many different types, and for me I have a PhD in every single type of abuse because of him. And in a way I am, crazy to say, but like grateful, just because of giving others hope and understanding that you don't have your darkest days doesn't have to last forever. And the more that you reach out for help and support, the better you will feel, and little by little you you will get to the point that you love yourself again. And it's crazy
Yeah.
to say because I
Yeah.
didn't think that I was going to get here, but I have almost 2 years of self-love journey, and
Oh,
just
good.
talking about it, and now with the podcast bringing amazing experts on different topics that helped me out, and definitely didn't think that this conversation was going to go there. But I'm glad, just to finally just say it, and like that, not be a victim of my story, but say no, I am a survivor of this. I survived this, I'm thriving now after. So
I love that word. I love that you, oh, sorry, I'm shouting. I
yeah.
love the word thriving because, that is exactly the journey. It's like the first step is always the most difficult and it's the most scariest. And what Tantra has taught me is that we are not because there's the classical Tantra, which is the
Okay.
5,000 years old. And it happened in India and China and Nepal and Tibet, even in Tibet and even in Japan. But when it came to the States, it was in the 60s and it started to get more sexual. It became like a tantric sex. It's called neo tantra. So anyway, so I kind of know a little bit both, and I really want to bring the tantric sex to the forefront because I believe it's going to become mainstream, just like yoga did, a couple of decades ago. Because we need a new sexual revolution that starts from within. That's
Yes.
my belief. But the now I lost my thought. What I was going to say. I was going to say yes. So the
Tantric
first
sex.
step is it's very
Yes.
scary. The reason for it is that we believe that we are our emotions and we are our thoughts. So what Tantra taught me is that we are not just our emotions and our thoughts. That's part of our humanity. That's why we're human beings. That's why we're on this planet. And that's true. It's real. We are here, but we are so much more. We are also our consciousness. We are also awareness. We can be aware that we are aware. And that's a very spiritual, if you like, philosophy of Tantra. And you can kind of pendulate. What you did there is that you were feeling the feels. And this actually modern neuroscience confirms this. This is very, very modern as well as very ancient. So basically, what you just did there very skillfully was that you pendulated, you kind of, went back and forth. Oh, I can feel, I'm anxious. My hands hurt because I'm rubbing my hands so much. So you're aware of the sensations in your body. You're aware of the emotion. You're aware you are getting anxious. You are anxious. But also you had that awareness, that came from above and thought, okay, but yeah, I'm actually doing this, but I also want to bring this to the listeners, please believe, and you gave beautiful advice there. So you came with your awareness, with your consciousness. You realized that you are so much more than just your hands being rubbed together and your anxiety. And you were able to rise above that as well and come as an educator, as a peer, as a console, somebody who has compassion and love for somebody else who's gone through the same things or similar things. So you can see that there are different, parts to us. We are spiritual beings, but we're also human beings. And we need to, in our daily lives, we're here. A little bit like you said, in a way, it's tricky, isn't it? You said that you're kind of grateful it happened to you because you can now ease other people's burdens. And it is a sad state of affairs for sure. And I think there are schools of thought, where people are saying that we need to suffer to become enlightened. I don't believe so. I believe in Tantra, you can get enlightened just like that. It's when it can happen like a split second. All of a sudden, you just and your mind expands. You don't need to that's why yoga and tantra actually separated at one point, because in India they decided that tantra is not good, it's too sexual, it's giving people too much power. So hatha yoga got separated from tantra, and that's how it survived in India. And tantra was actually forbidden in India. So what happens is that when you have the understanding and power of your sexuality, which is your life force, your very, living force, um, and you can start using that for your own healing and benefit, you become powerful. But when that can happen very quickly. In yoga, the philosophy separates. They teach that you need to kind of do the asanas, and you need to do the pranayama, the right breathing techniques, and you need to meditate, and you need to do that for decades and decades before you can become enlightened. In tantra, it's not so. sexual energy can just rise up your spine, very quickly. It's called Kundalini, and it's in where your cervix is if you are a pussy owning body, and if you are penis owning body, you have it in your perineum, and it's that kind of fourth vertebrae where that energy is lying in every single body, regardless what your gender or your biology is. It's there. And that's why I feel Tantra is very inclusive as well. It's not gender biased in that sense. And what happens is that starts opening up in your spine. The doctors, the caduceus, the symbol of medical doctors with the kind of a shaft, and then it's two snakes going around.
Yeah.
So that's actually it's a very ancient symbol for Kundalini. So that's the spine. And the two snakes are two energies. The other one is consciousness. The other one is energy flow, and it starts going, the yin and yang, if you like, in a sort of Chinese tradition. And when they start rising up in the spine for whatever reason, and we can discuss that later, it's when you start getting more enlightened, and they kind of come together here in your head, in your pineal gland and pituitary gland, and shoot out in the universe through your top of your head. The chakra system, if you're familiar with that, wasn't traditionally part of that. It was more in the 60s when it was brought into the West, but it wasn't so much into in the classical Tantra. But there is that kind of understanding that we can create energy points anywhere in our bodies. And in Taoistic tradition, they talk about 10 tiens. There's one in lower belly, one in heart, one in your third eye, in your forehead. And there are different traditions, but they talk about the same thing. It's about circulating your energy to heal your blockages, if you want. If you have a broken heart, you can heal your heart and start receiving and giving love again. Or if you have sexual trauma, you can start healing your lower belly area, your pelvic floor, and your genital areas. And also, if you can't speak properly because you're so afraid of using your voice, you can start healing the throat energy here. So there are lots of things you can do with the sexual energy. It's not just sex. It's, again, so much more. And I suppose this is the thing that most people, when they think about Tantra, it's just, oh, let's do some very slow massage with lots of oils, and
Heck
it's
yeah.
boring. It's boring. When can we get into the real thing? And it's one thing, yes, but it's not the whole thing. And I think everybody needs to find their own way. I believe so much in that self-sovereignty, and what did you call your Majesty course you did or something?
Her Majesty retreat. She's oh my gosh, I'm gonna messed it up, but it's something sonomic, sacred sexologist. So not, I'm messing it up, but she is a sexologist.
Somatic. Would that be
Yes,
somatic?
I think
Yes,
so.
somatic means embodied. So it just means that again, I think it's beautiful because you're not going into your monkey mind and your thoughts and kind of, oh, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, or I'm ashamed, or all this kind of self-judgment and critical voice we all have. But when you go through your sensations, like, oh, my hands feel tingly, and there's pressure on my heart area, or I have bounding in my temples, throbbing, sensation, or I have numbness in my vulva, or when you go through your body, how it feels, what sensations you have in your body, you gain so much information. And if you can start speaking from those parts, what does that, what do your hands want to say? If you get curious about your hands, what is this rubbing of hands? What do my hands want to say?
Yeah.
I don't know
Uh,
if that resonates at all with you, but I mean, it's just very, you can start getting curious, and even, it sounds weird, but you can give voice
No, yeah,
as
no,
well.
100%. Because for me, it was just saying, danger zone. You're in the danger zone right now. Right now, it passed, and I'm surprised that I was able to do that. Like, I have done so much work that sometimes it still shocks me that I'm able to go from one to the other, because that in the past will put me into a major panic attack, and I will feel like the world is ending, and oh my gosh, I said too much. I need to go and run and hide, and nobody can see me ever, ever again. But today, instead, it was like, oh, hold up. I trigger myself. Let me soothe myself and then acknowledge what's happening and come back. So, as people that deal with trauma, we are very detached from our bodies because of what we had to endure. So, embodiment is something absolutely super new to me. Like 2 days ago, let's just say that's how super new it is to me. But it's so much better when you can be in your body and be like, oh, I'm feeling anxiety. Oh, I'm feeling love. Oh, I'm feeling peace. Oh, that's something new.
Yeah. And where does it feel? Where do you feel love? I feel love in my chest area. I
Mhm.
feel love in my arms, or I feel, anxiety in my forehead or in my, solar plexus. So there are so many places. If you can get awareness, where do you feel the sensation and what is the sensation? Tingling in my hands. It's very important. And if you let that take its course and pass, you're healing yourself. You're allowing that stress cycle to finish and complete. And you can all the time, that's the key. Yeah, you're so wise. You're so wise. And if you can bring that consciousness as you did, I'm safe, I'm safe. This is okay, this will pass. But you allow, that's again, that spirituality, that consciousness, and your human body, working in tandem and kind of pendulating, going back and forth, where you keep yourself safe so you don't get into a full panic attack, and you're soothing yourself. You're finding where you have resources in your body. Is it maybe some image that you have, if you're religious, your guru or whatever, picture of Jesus or whatever, or if it's a scene, like a seashore or beautiful nature place that you love, or your pet or your beloved or somebody that brings you, soothes you. So you can use that kind of mind help strategy as you showed that you were, stroking your hands yourself, you were soothing with your touch. So there are so many strategies you can use when you are going through a stress cycle. But the most important thing is that you allow it to pass. You allow it to take its course, and you're coming out of the other side. It's like a stress tunnel in a way. There is a beautiful book called Your Body Keeps the Score. So
Yeah,
your body actually remembers so much.
we talk about it in like at least every other interview. And I actually have to read it. I have it at home, but everybody that when the trauma talk starts, somebody's mentioning the body keeps scores.
Yeah, I was just looking if I have it here, but I don't. I must have put it in the book box. So I don't have my library anymore because I live in a motorhome. I'm a
I know, I
nomad.
love you mentioned that. Like, your life sounds so freaking cool right now.
I don't know. I don't know. It's something I chose because my children are adults now, and I thought, okay, this is the window of opportunity. My youngest turned 19 in December, and she left home. So I thought, okay, this is my time to go traveling. I've been mum, I believe, a good mom for so many years, and now it's my time to do something for me. And they think it's a middle age crisis, but I think it's my second spring. It's my time to be creative and do what I want. And at the moment, I'm in Portugal, somewhere between, in the border of Portugal and Spain, on my way to Morocco. And yeah, it's been 2 months now. Love it.
Oh my God. I absolutely love it. I'm over here in Kansas, like, dang it. Way to make me feel bad about my life.
Oh, I didn't mean to
Nah,
do
nah.
that.
I
Sorry.
love it. I love it. So yeah, so how did the coaching, because you're a relationship coach as well.
Yeah, I mean, I must say also that I was sexually abused as a child. It
Okay.
wasn't incest, but it was a sexual abuse, and I only discovered it a few years ago. I always thought, I come from Finland, which is a very liberal Nordic country in Europe, and like Sweden and Denmark and Norway, Iceland, we are quite liberal in our sexuality, and in many ways very liberal. And I grew up with having safety in my body, and it was okay to explore your body and maybe somebody else's when you were a child. I'm actually doing just before we started this, can I promote my show?
Yes, yes.
I was just thinking about the next episode, which I want to talk about 5 healthy stages of sexuality in an ideal society. So if we didn't have all this abuse, if we didn't have all this trauma, if we didn't have all this, uh, porn and things like that, that can be damaging. I'm not, criticizing porn as such, but I mean, it can become addictive, and it can have very harmful models as well. And there's a lot of abuse going on in that industry. And but anyway, so I was just thinking that there was that kind of innocence, when you're a baby, you start exploring. Oh, what's that? Your nose. Oh, you hit your hand. Oh, what's that? And then you hit your willy, or whatever, and you kind of, oh, what's that? And you start exploring, and oh, that actually feels quite nice. And it's very innocent. It's very, very innocent. And then we come into playfulness. It's that kind of time when we're kind of exploring that, oh, your parts are a bit different to mine, and and we start playing doctors and patients, or whatever, and let me see yours and I'll show you mine. And there is that kind of innocent playfulness, and then it becomes pleasurable when we become teenagers, and there is that kind of openness that, yes, you can, there's a lot of education as well. It's still very much about STIs and don't get pregnant, rather than this feels pleasurable for women, or this, if you are non-gender, uh, biased, you can do this. So all that is still it's not happening, or there is no real talk about love and respect and all that, and boundaries obviously is a big thing, but there are lots of things that it could be much better. And then you become, to a stage where you start honoring your body as a temple. You start honoring the other person's body as a temple, and it becomes a very sacred space. And in the end, you become into sacred sexuality. So I'm just kind of looking at these different stages of healthy society, healthy sexuality. And, if we don't have that, can we go back and rewire our nervous system? Can we just do that kind of journey again, as if there was no trauma, as if there was no abuse, and kind of take back what belongs to us, which is the innocence, which is the playfulness, which is the pleasure, which is the honoring, which is the sacredness. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about the next episode, because I had an amazing, the second episode was with 2 ladies. One had never self-pleasured until she was mid-30s. I don't like the word masturbation, because it's got very negative connotation from Latin word, which is shameful hand or something like that. So I think that's just stupid. So I like to use self-pleasure. And and the other lady, she's been doing tantric massage for 7 years. People that it doesn't even know. And she said there's so much love, and she's healed her sexual trauma by doing that. And she's
This-
a single polyamorous person. So that kind of, I kind of, what is making these two ladies, what's the common nominator there? And it is about reconnecting to your own body. It's about honoring your body as a sacred temple. It's about learning what's pleasurable to you without outsourcing it to a man, and there's so much. It's just beautiful. I just love what I do.
I can talk to you for forever and ever because as you were speaking about childhood, teenage, I could go through it, but I felt so much shame and so much like I say I love my family, but they're special. And I learned that my demons at home were hormones in the United States. So there
You're
was a
kidding.
lot. No, I wish I was. I wish I was.
Demons.
Like
So female, is that female hormones or hormones
it's because
general?
my family is not, I don't want to generalize, it's not everybody, but it's my perspective on my childhood. Let me rephrase
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're very Christian, and like you're gonna believe in God or you're gonna believe in God. Like there's no other choice, or they're gonna slap you with the Bible till you believe in God. So did you get it that you have to believe in God? So and they want to explain things that grown-ups understand, but children don't. So there was a lot of exorcism, and it was just them praying over me with a little bit of oil on my forehead. But there was say things like that, and for me it was huge. As I talked to my mom is like, I don't remember any of that. And I'm like, of course you don't. But it's the language, because as I go back and they talk to the kids and they be talking about Christians, angels and demons and things like that, I'm like, whoa, too much for a kid. They should not be listening to this conversation at all, because they're like, whatever you're saying is 1,000% more than what they are capable to understand. So anyways, and then I had 24 cousins, and for some of them there was a lot of exploring, because you're explaining the innocence and everything like that, and I don't look at it as an abuse. I don't see it as an abuse, but there was a lot of exploring, and you see the innocence. Oh my God, you give me a kiss and it felt good and this and that. But you had the shame of like what your family is telling you, that there's something wrong with you and this and that. And then you come to a teenager. Now I think it started like in middle school or whatever. I was already out there. I started watching porn when I was 9. So that was a lot for a child to be learning about pleasure and all that things. And now fast forward to my 30s is when I'm finally honoring my body. I'm finally acknowledging the things that are happening and not feeling shame if I do feel pleasure and things like that. So everything that you were saying, I could picture a part of my life, and like healing that part of myself, that is okay. So thank you so much for that.
I love it. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I think it's a very normal way, but somehow society makes it ugly and sinful and bad. And I suppose that's why there's lots of pedophilia as well, because people get confused. Adults get confused what the innocence and playfulness of a child's sexuality is about. It's not sex. It's not sex. It's innocence and it's playfulness. And that's where it should be left. It's not something that children's, sexual energy play doesn't belong to adults' sex lives at all. And I suppose that's the thing, because the children's, the sexual energy is a life force. So children are full of energy, and lots of adults are envious of that. They kind of tap into that energy and get confused that it's sexual energy, which it is, but it's not sex energy. It's not something to be exploited or abused. So we need to really have these ideal societies where we can talk about these things openly, and we can see, that, the children are going under the blanket, to 5-year-olds, and they just came from the swim and they are half naked, and then you realize that all the other clothes of, the swimsuits have gone off as well. So yeah, they're exploring, they're having playful time, just understanding why are your bits different to mine, and that's okay. There's no shame in that, and it doesn't mean that you can go and join them as an
I
adult.
really can't imagine like having a childhood where everything was okay, like nothing was like super bad or super wrong or oh my goodness, like I can't. I'm like, oh, I can't imagine because of me, it was wrong. This conversation, I still don't have this type of conversation with a lot of people. And I'm in my 30s, if I'm uncomfortable, like a lot of my friends are even worse than me when
Yeah.
it comes to sexual pleasure and learning about our bodies and things like that. So I love it. Your mission is so necessary.
And this is a co-creative space, isn't it? I mean, you're doing it now. You are creating this space in your podcast. You are showing that this can be done differently. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true
So
too.
thank
I
you.
try. Oh, that
Yeah,
that
and,
was
and if you think about, can I just sorry, I interrupted
no.
you.
You go ahead.
No, I was just curious about the 9-year-old and porn, because obviously you're so much younger than I am. In my years, it was porn magazines, that you might have found under the bed of your parents or something like that, or in the cupboard somewhere behind the bookcase, or hidden somewhere. And you kind of, oh, what are these beautiful ladies?
Well,
why don't they have clothes on?
I had two different kinds. So when I started reading, my mom used to read novels and sexy novels. And to this day, she's like, no, I'm a Christian. I was like, well, when I was growing up, you wasn't. And I started reading them and she couldn't believe it or whatever. So, and then in the 90s, cable came in and you had to put the code 1234, and the adults were talking about the code like children can hear it. And guess what? There was some channels that needed a code. So 9-year-old Francie went and put 1234 and got a reality check on a lot of stuff. And I learned by then, I was already learning how to pleasure myself. So I have always been comfortable in that part on that one. And like for me, I need it because if not, I'm going to jail. Somebody's gonna get hurt if I don't get
Yeah.
some release.
Yeah.
And um then I had it was like down the line cousins. So like third, I can go up to 6 generations of cousins. We're not even cousins anymore, but we grew up like cousins. And one of him, he was 13, I believe, and I was 9. So there was a lot of exploring for like a couple of years or so. And um but yeah, so that was my introduction to
Yeah.
sex. So not
Yeah.
the right way, not the most great way or whatever, but
Yeah, I would not say what's right and wrong. It's what happened. It's what
thank
it
you.
is, and
Yes.
you need to make sense. It's what meaning you give to it. It's yours, and it's your choice how you define it.
Now I'm just jealous of that 9-year-old because like she was way more comfortable in her body than I am in my 30s. So yeah, props
She
to
still
her,
is.
I
She's
guess. Yeah,
still there.
she's still there.
She's still there. You just need to tap into her. Say, come on, girl.
Oh man,
Let's
I
do
haven't thought
this.
about that in a long time. But as you talk about trauma, you those things come out, and now because of the work that I have done, I can talk about it and be okay with it, not go back into shame or like, oh my gosh, once again, I said too much. I already said too much on this podcast interview. But that's me. Like I like to have this type of conversations for people to get different perspective because like right now, like when I listen back to this interview, because I do listen to my interviews again, I'm gonna get a huge change in my perspective on how I see my life, the things that happened to me in the past, and just giving myself permission that it's okay to feel pleasure and be a wild card like I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there is that awareness again coming into play, and also accepting that little 9-year-old and just really loving her, and tapping into her energies as well, because we need to let our inner children play every now and then, even though we are adults. But I mean, there's so much to be said that if one day you want to have a pillow fight with somebody just because you feel like you're 7-year-old, or you want to jump on the bed, just like a 4-year-old, just go for it. It's that there is that, our inner children need to play as well, and they need to be expressed every now and then. But when it comes to sex, I think it's always very healthy to then kind of come from your more empowered adult self and kind of, yeah, I get this. This is what I want now, and this is pleasurable to me. But you have to have that journey first to find what's your pleasure, what gives in your body pleasure to you, without needing to always necessarily go to porn. I don't know if you watch porn anymore, but you don't need to answer. But it's just something that it's. I think there is some, because what happens in our bodies, let's go back to the neuroscience, is that when we learn to, for instance, orgasm in a particular way, it becomes a highway of pleasure. It's like, oh, I know, this is how I get off, this is how it works. And your brain goes, oh yeah, I know what's happening now. This is going to explode in a minute, and the life is just peaceful and restful again, and happy place. But if you want to have different experiences, you can what's really cool about our bodies is that you can rewire your nervous system, and you can learn to have pleasure in so many different ways as well. But it might take time, and you might need to do what's called a blended pleasure, where you still do your old thing, but you also do something new. And when you do that parallel at the same time, your body starts thinking, your brain starts thinking that, oh, hang on, that's pleasurable. I know what's happening now. Now we're going to come. But then, oh, that's something different. But it starts kind of by association, if you like, thinking that that's also pleasurable, that, plan B, that new thing, is also as pleasurable as plan A. So you're kind of rewiring your neuronal pathways differently, so that you can have actually different types of, network of pleasure. And more you can do different types of pleasure, you can just teach your body to have pleasure about everything or anything if you want. But you kind of have to start first, doing that blended stuff, where then when you, just before you, for instance, orgasm, you can stop doing what you normally do, but the brain is already thinking that, yeah, we're on a highway to pleasure. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of, oh, but that didn't happen. But actually, we already know that this is also pleasurable. So let's orgasm this way as well. And that's why lots of women who, for instance, haven't, there's a majority of women around the world who actually don't orgasm with P to P, so penis to pussy, because it's intercourse is not what we've learned. And we've maybe learned pleasure differently. And that is stronger, and that is something that, especially with porn, where women just orgasm, in 2 minutes, and with the cue, this is where you orgasm, and it's
Yeah.
just acting. It's acting. It's not true. It's a film, you know. And that's not very helpful, because then women think that they're broken somehow because they don't orgasm in 2 minutes with the penis inside them. So there are ways you can actually teach your body to start feeling more pleasure with that way, or whatever the way is that you want to experience pleasure. So it's good news in that sense, I would say. Very hopeful.
My mentor triggered a lot of people in TikTok because she said that it takes like an average of 45 minutes for a woman, and men were triggered and women were like, well, that's why I will never ever have one. But the point of she was making is that it's so much more than just the orgasm. Like, we have to be relaxed, we have to be like in the zone, the environment. Because let me tell you, like, if my man is washing the dishes, woo, I am ready for some action, but like, if you're stressed and then you're just gonna have a quickie, like, that's not gonna work. And for me, I can't comprehend that, because I'm the type that if I don't have like 3 or 4 in one session, I'm like, well, this was pointless, like, are we gonna do it again? And it's something wrong with me.
Well, celebrations to you. You're one of the rare women
Thank
who
you.
are multi-orgasmic. It doesn't happen, that easily. And lots of women would be very envious about, just
I
having one,
know,
not to mention having 3 or 20 in a session,
because
as you
they
said.
can't comprehend like that, because just to get one alone is a lot.
Yeah.
But it comes out of being very sexual. I have always been,
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
a kid. And now it's more of like I'm being in
Embodied.
embodied, yes,
Yes.
embodied. And like more of self-aware of what I want and speaking it out loud, because I do have a problem with
Yeah.
speaking stuff. Because in my culture, children are to be seen, not heard. And there's a lot of hush hush, don't talk, and that gets imprinted in your head.
Yeah.
And then as a grown-up, you want to talk, but you're like, you forget that you're a grown-up and you can have your own voice. So I'm jealous of my little cousins that now are like speaking, and they will tell my aunts or stuff like, no, you can't say that. And you're like, what? You can do that? I didn't know that. So now that I am speaking my voice and speaking more of what I want, it's a lot easier to be in the moment too. And the detachment, I had to detach, so I couldn't be in the moment. And now being in the moment is like, makes it more, even more pleasurable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's again, you might not know, but actually you are very much into tantric sex already, because one
It
of the
sounds
things
like
that we
it.
one of the things that we discussed in one of my episodes is that tantra is very much about presence. It's about really being present, because lots of people are in their heads, they're anxious, there's performance anxiety. They might be just thinking, oh, what shall I cook for dinner, or this is boring, this is not what I actually find pleasurable, or whatever it is, in the past and in the future. And with tantra, the whole idea is to be embodied in your body and in your 5 senses. So really being present, what you hear, what you can see, and what you can touch and feel, even what you can taste and what you can smell. And it's all those 5 senses bring you into the present moment. And if you can be in that, and you can really, really, I mean, that's the most delicious thing, to be present in the moment. And it is also the sexiest thing for the other person. And I think lots of men, for instance, don't understand that you need to be present in your senses, so that women can feel and sense the 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 um the sexual energy. And if you're in a same-sex relationship, there's always one of the persons who are more kind of, it takes um it swaps sometimes, but often there is one who is more dynamic and more initiative making. And that person, if that person is fully present in their five senses, that is the most sexiest, people tell me. Is that
Dang.
true? Is that something that you
Uh,
were
I'm in a
laughing? Is that
poly.
something you can identify with?
I'm I'm about to say too much again. So I'm in a poly relationship. There's one male and two women. So I can see all of that and more. So I am
Yeah, yeah,
picturing and everything how much our sex have changed because of my sexual trauma healing and work now. It helps her too with her anxiety and to become more on her body. And now right now she's struggling with insecurities because she's seeing my journey as like healed from what she meant 6 years ago. So it's a little bit intimidating, but it is intriguing for her to start reaching out and feeling herself
yeah.
more and stuff like that. So yeah, sorry.
No. This is really good, and congratulations again for that awareness. And you can help her so much. And one of the things is that one of the key messages I want to convey always is that pleasure is your birthright. That is something that everybody needs to understand, that it's not sinful, it's not something to be ashamed of, it's not something that's bad. It's something that is, you were born with pleasure. Pleasure, your needs were met when you were hungry. You can have it again. Just like as a baby, you were looked after. So same way with your sexuality, the pleasure is yours to be had, even if it's been lost for a while for some particular reason. It doesn't have to be a particular incident like incest or a sexual abuse. It can be just cultural context, like you said. There's so many things
Mhm.
that you heard that did feel actually quite traumatizing, and so many things that even now people are saying through media, through PR. How bodies are sexualized for commercial purposes. There's all that abuse that we can see, even words people say. There are different languages that have very different meanings to whether it's about hormones, whether it's about menopause, whether it's about female genitalia, or whatever. So it's just in English language that oh, don't be a pussy. I mean, for goodness sake, how strong is pussy? And that's to kind of trying to convey that if you are a pussy, you're a coward. You don't have any courage, and yet pussy is the strongest organ.
Girl, say it out loud. Heck yeah, that's offensive. You're calling me strong, not weak. Sorry.
No, I mean that's the thing. That's a beautiful. I don't know if you've come across with Mama Gina and her book called Pussy. If
Oh
you
no.
haven't,
Yeah,
please
no.
get it.
Because that's it's
Regina
funny
Townhauser.
because it's hard, I'm feeling like a different person right now, and it's so crazy, and I love it. But yeah, saying pussy or things like that, it's like, oh, the little girl comes out like, oh, I said a bad word. I'm not supposed to say that.
Well, you need to reclaim that, all right. Now you're an adult, to say that is my pussy, and she
My
is going to
goodness.
grab back. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to be. I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for your mission. Where can my followers find you?
My podcast is called Tantric Sex for Lovers and Others, because I wanted to be inclusive of all genders and all different relationships, but also single people. And it's all podcast platforms, I hope. It's quite new. And also I can be found on Instagram and Facebook, and I believe in Pinterest and LinkedIn as Selfishly Happy with Anne Bland, and it's Anne with an E. So bland by name, but not by nature.
I love everything about you. Oh my goodness.
Ditto.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like my listeners to know?
That pleasure is your birthright. And I believe on my website, which I didn't mention, is selfishlyhappyu.com. There is a pleasure guide that I wrote. I don't know how the technicalities work yet. It might not be easy to download, but you can contact me through, social media, for instance, and ask for me to send it. But it's a pleasure guide. It's called Pleasure is Your Birthright, 7 Holistic Sex Tools. And I'm talking about Tantra, really, about breath, movement, sounding, energy, all that kind of stuff, focus, intention, how you can be more present. And I think it would be lovely if people wanted to. It's free. It's just, something I wanted to write because I want to inspire people to really own their pleasure, own their bodies, and really find what works.
Well, you sure changed me. So thank
You
you so
changed yourself,
much.
girl.
Because this kind of conversations I only have with my mentor, Portia. Like we talk about everything and anything. And that's how I was like, this is not Portia. You cannot be talking like you're talking to Portia right now.
You've done so well. I want to honor you, honestly. Thank you so much being so brave and vivacious, woman. It's just absolutely amazing. What you're doing is just beautiful. It's empowering, it's inspiring for others. And as people, have gone through trauma as well, they know that you're a beautiful example that it can be overcome. Thank you.
Yeah. I say your darkest days do not have to last forever. Everything has a season, everything is temporary. I know it feels like it's forever, but forever is just a little tiny, because for me all the trauma and everything is like 2 years of my life,
Yeah.
and it has carried over for decades,
Yeah. Wow.
but it was just 2 years, just
Yeah.
well 7 years living with him, but the main thing was actually like 6 months, and it was like the huge thing that you would have thought that it happened from birth to today, and I haven't seen him in 13 years, and it's been 6 months that I have felt free and into myself again and all of that. And I'm 35 years old. So I'm just giving hope that it is possible. It is possible.
Exactly. And congratulations. And always when the in the day when the hour is darkest, the dawn will come. The hour before dawn is always the darkest.
Thank you. Well, oh my God. Thank you so much. I really had a pleasure. A pleasure talking to you.
My
No pun
pleasure
intended.
entirely.
Oh
Yep.
my God. I'm gonna follow you on all social media. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, but anyways, for thank you so much for listening to another episode. Hope you have a blessed day. You can find my podcast in every major platform. Her information will be in the description of this episode. And for my YouTubes, like and subscribe. You know the deal. Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.